How many of you here today sent Christmas cards this year? Christmas cards. You are in the category of 85% of Americans. 85% of Americans gave Christmas cards this year, and there were 3.5 to 4 billion Christmas cards sent in the United States alone. It's an amazing thing. President Eisenhower was the very first president to send out an official White House Christmas card. He sent out about 2,000 cards, and today the White House sends out 1.4 million Christmas cards. Did you guys get one? Anybody here ever gotten an official White House Christmas card? Man, you got an official card. Is that right? Man. From what president? The first Bush, okay. You got one from the second Bush, okay. Did you do something special to get it?
No, I was trying to figure it out.
You're trying to figure it out. All right. Well, have some of you intended to send Christmas cards and you haven't done it yet? That's the other question. Some of you. You know, they're kind of concerned because the number of Christmas cards actually has peaked and kind of gone back down. A lot of that is because everything's electronic now. So many people, like me, send electronic, Facebook, Merry Christmas, everybody. But some of you may not know that really, here actually in the Western Hemisphere, it wasn't until 1843 that people started sending Christmas cards, and there was a wealthy man in England who commissioned an artist to paint a Christmas card for him and put a message on it. And that was kind of the beginning of a new form of technology, right? You know, churches like ours didn't have bulletins until the early 1900s because there was no means of producing that. And it was really technology that makes all of us feel comfortable on Sunday morning when we have a bulletin in our hands. And so, in 1843, there was a postcard. He designed it especially to fit the season. And the center panel has a family around a dinner table. It appears to be children and parents and grandparents having a feast. And that opens up, and there are two panels. And on the two panels on the left is someone giving food to someone who's hungry. And on the right, someone giving clothing to someone who's in need. And underneath the whole panel, it says, "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you." One of the first times that that phrase that we use so much in our culture was actually framed. Merry Christmas. Today, I want you to revision what the Christmas stories really say, and I want you to have a biblical Christmas. And the first Christmas card actually had a lot of things right. Because Christmas is that day when we gather with our families and we solidify those relationships and we have those memories. But don't forget the two panels of the Christmas card. What Christmas has meant for our religious heritage for centuries is that it also means that you have a new sense of energy and mission and purpose in the world. Because Christmas brings with it the Spirit of Christ that enables us to go out into the world and see all people as brothers and sisters. One thing I really noticed when I read the scripture again this year, John 3, is how practical John was. John was a radical man in the wilderness, right? But look at what he said. Look, if you got your bulletin there, just look at it. If we had a screen, I'd pop it up there. Luke 3, just look at verse 10 through 14, that middle paragraph there. So there's a whole bunch of people in the crowd, right? And they say, well, what does all this mean? What do you want us to do? And he says, whoever has 2 coats must share with anyone who has none, and whoever has food must do likewise. Boy, that guy that created that first Christmas card, maybe he read Luke 3 before he created it, right? But then look at this. It's not just the crowds. Then some tax collectors come. And they say, okay, what do you want us to do? Maybe a little fearfully, right? What do you want us to do? What do we have to do? And he says to them, collect no more than the amount prescribed for you. And then they move on to the occupation of people who are soldiers, right? Everybody in their own place has their own spirit that moves through them. So the soldiers, what should we do? And he says, and it makes you wonder what image people had of soldiers in that day. But he said to them, do not extort money from anyone by threats or false accusation, and be satisfied with your wages. Now what happened when all these people who gathered along the banks of the Jordan heard John the Baptist, and they went back into the world and they did things differently? Our faith has very real, practical consequences in the lives of people. And how did these people who were lined up on the bank of the river Jordan, and the Jordan was symbolic because it's the place that the people of Israel in the time of Joshua entered into the promised land. So John the Baptist is promising that through the waters they'll enter into a new promised land, a new way of living. So how were their lives changed by being dunked in the water by John the Baptist? The American novelist Henry James was saying goodbye to his nephew Billy, who was William James' son. They had a pretty energetic and enthusiastic family and had a lot of ability. And of all the things that he might have said to him on that occasion, what the novelist did say was this: there are three things that are important in human life. The first is to be kind. The second is to be kind. The third is to be kind. Is that the spirit of John the Baptist? The spirit that you see here when people came to him and said, gosh, what should I do? Kindness means enthusiasm. It means that we have a certain devotion about living our lives. It gives us a meaning and a purpose to transform the world from people who are strangers, people who are disengaged from one another, to people who are of the same kind. It causes engagement. Think about maybe an old Western or something. A bunch of people come into the town and they say, you're not our kind. Remember those good old classic, you might see that in the classic movies. And it comes from the word kin, right? It comes from the word kindred. Are you kind? Do you have energy for that? Think about the character of Scrooge in The Christmas Carol. Did all these people all of a sudden go galloping down the street, handing little orphan kids coins and looking for ways to demonstrate kindness to other people? Scrooge was alive. He had energy. He had a sense of purpose other than sitting by himself, disengaged from the world, not providing a sense of purpose for his life. Bitter about the way the world was. Oh man, that's another thing about this transformation that John the Baptist was talking about. Because if you don't have a positive outlet for changing the world, you'll be bitter about it. If you have problems in life and you have no way to change them, it causes despair and a lack of hope. If you watch the news, we see that. News, man, they really focus on bad things. It's really difficult for us to go about our day and hear the news. News like Newtown tragedy. We see that there are a lot of people that sleepwalk through life. They haven't found the thing that makes them come alive. The important thing in life is to have energy, to have enthusiasm, to have engagement with the world and with other people. And bad things happen when people disengage. It's a classic definition of depression. To lose hope. Now, it doesn't extend just to these kinds of things, but we also need in the life of our church to have a strategy, a vision for how we want our youth to become, the people we hope that they might be. And we've seen many talented youth go forth from Trinity with energy, with enthusiasm, engaged in the world, and they still are, years after they've left this place. And it's because we've taken them to places where they gave food. We've taken them to places where they gave clothing. We've helped them to see that there are people doing things about the problems in the world. There's no time for boredom in this world because there's a world in need out there. Some of you may know that January 26th, several of us in the faith community in Worcester are bringing Naomi Tutu to town for a youth conference over a Saturday, the January 26th from 10 to 2. She is Desmond Tutu's daughter, and it's a great thing that we can have her. It's a great opportunity for our youth to come to know someone who's alive in the faith. If you've ever seen Desmond Tutu, you'd say, man, there isn't anybody else who's more alive than him. He's written a new book, which is How to Be Happy, Change the World, and Embrace a New Way to Be Human. Now, I can see John the Baptist saying that in the river by the Jordan, right? How to change the world, how to be happy, how to come alive. So, we try to bring opportunities to people. It's also part of our role in the life of the church. We can't allow the world to become numb to atrocities. And unfortunately, that's what's happened to us. We've become numb. We've become isolated because we don't feel there's anything we can do about some of these large issues of violence. So have the energy and the enthusiasm and the engagement. That's what Paul's saying too in this passage. Philippians 4 is a great passage. Any of you know what KO stands for in Texas slang? What? Knockout. Oh yeah, well, knockout maybe. The KO is a knockout. And a K in baseball is a strikeout. But KO stands for keep on keeping on. If anybody texts you that, and you say, oh, I know what that is. We're trying to interpret new language, see, new technology. Now some of you might think that it was Curtis Mayfield that said keep on keeping on. Remember that song? It was a great song. But you know what? It was a motto of the Salvation Army in the 1800s. Salvation Army, they encouraged one another, keep on keeping on. We know what kinds of things they faced through the industrial age, poverty, worker strikes, all sorts of bad things going on in the world, and the Salvation Army, keep on keeping on. Look at what the Apostle Paul said today. He said, keep on keeping on. He said, keep on doing the things that you've learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. Now that word keep on is the Greek word preset, which means to do, and with a King James version says, be ye practicing the things that I have shown you. The interesting thing is that that same Greek word is found in John's instructions. Want the word collect or exact means keep on doing these things. Keep on doing these things. Prepare the way to give knowledge of salvation, light to those who sit in darkness, to guide our feet in the ways of peace. That was a song that John the Baptist's father Zacharias sang when he knew that John was coming into the world. And that's what it's about. So this Christmas, I want you to think about the Christmas cards you get. Open them up and see if there's a guy giving food, a guy giving clothes. Because if it's not a biblical Christmas. Because a biblical Christmas includes all those features, some pretty radical features, in fact. So revision this Christmas. Revision these stories. Think about what it means to truly be alive. And in 1843, that first Christmas card actually got it right with the scenes on the panels. John the Baptist and Paul, they said it this way: you got to keep on keeping on.